What up, YouTube? T-Movies here, and boy, it's a great one. And Happy New Year, by the way. Anyway, now 2020 has some really decent movies up their sleeve, like on the shoulders and all, but they also had some pretty sticky ones. So what I'm gonna do is do my top 10 worst movies of the year, and oh boy, there's a lots to choose from. All right, coming in at number 10, I'm gonna go with the film 365 Days. This movie, pretty much, I guess, say is like a 50 Shades ripoff or whatnot, was just god awful. I mean, you definitely tell they really took the page out of 50 Shades. It was just not so good. I mean, it was blank, boring. The chemistry between the two leads was not great at all. This movie makes 50 Shades of Grey look like an Oscar-worthy film. That's how bad it was. And they already got a sequel in the pipeline, so yeah, it's not that good of a film at all. Alright, number 9, I'm going to go with a pretty bad one, and that is Corona Zombies. That's right. They literally did a movie about people becoming zombies from the COVID-19 crisis. That's actually a thing that just happened. Anyway, yeah, this movie, it's safe to say, Corona Zombies, it's safe to say that Corona Zombies was just plain terrible. You know, it was awful. Definitely not great characters, horrible acting. I mean, this is more of a guilty pleasure film. Like, if you're drunk one night, you'll definitely enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, the company, by the way, I forgot the company name. Blood Moon something. Moon Features. They actually had some pretty decent films too before. Like the Puppet Master movies I like. Ginger Dead Man, Evil Bong. They actually got some good films up their sleeves. But this is definitely their worst in my opinion. Number 8, I just saw this film just recent, and that is New Mutants. New Mutants was not as bad as Dark Phoenix. New Mutants was horrible. Now I can see why it's still on the shelf for years. New Mutants is blatantly bad. It's horrible. It is horrendous. One of the worst pieces of garbage I ever sat through. I mean, now there are also positive stuff like Maisie Williams was decent. Anna Taylor-Joy was good. Some of the effects was decent. But the storyline element wasn't good. It was boring. They tried to make it a horror, but even it failed as a horror. I mean, it wasn't even that scary in my opinion. Yeah. And this is the last X-Men movie we have until God knows when Disney will pledge to do anymore. But yeah, definitely not a good one. Alright, number 7. I actually saw this thing on Showtime, and it is one of the worst pieces of garbage I have ever seen. Number 7, it is The Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson. This is not only plain bad, it's very offensive. I mean, how are you gonna get a movie about the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and make it into this? And it is from the same director who gave us The Haunting of Sharon Tate, which I also saw, which is god awful. I mean, this thing is just one of the worst pieces of garbage I have ever sat through. It's horrible. You've got Mina Savari, who I've had a crush on ever since American Pie. But even she, wasn't all that good in this. Okay. I mean, it's a really plain bad film. Horrible acting. Yeah, definitely a snooze fest. And the guy who played O.J. Simpson was definitely not good at all either. So, yeah. Alright, number 6, I'm going to go with Bloodshot. Alright, it's safe to say Bloodshot, starring Vin Diesel, was plain bad. It was so super horrendously horrible action. Vin Diesel did his all, but he couldn't save this film. This was actually one of the last movies I was able to watch in theaters before they closed down and all that. And yeah, I wish I had saw a better film in theaters that day. But yeah, Bloodshot is definitely not that good of a film at all. And they're already talking about doing a sequel, and I'm not even having a high hopes for a sequel. Alright, number 5, the first film I was able to watch in theaters of the year, and that is The Grudge. The Grudge, probably one of the one of the worst horror movies I was able to watch this year. It's a bad film. I mean, this will make The Grudge 3 look like an Oscar winner. The acting was great. I mean, you had the likes of John Cho, Andre Riseborough, Lin Shaye, who, by the way, Lin Shaye was actually the only redeeming quality of the whole movie in general. It's definitely not a good film at all. It's not even that scary. Like I said, the acting is great. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen The Grudge, don't see The Grudge. You don't need to see it. Alright. Number 4, I'm going to go with Antebellum. Antebellum was god-awful. One of the worst horror movies this year. You know, Janelle Monáe, Kiersey Clemons was in this. You had Eric Lang. You had Gabrielle Sidibe. So many great folks that I really admire in something trash like this. It's a god-awful horror film. I mean, it's like a horror version of Roots in a way. I guess say it's like a Roots meets Get Out. I'm not going to give much details, but it's kind of like that. Yeah, I mean, definitely not a good film at all. Janelle Monáe, that poor girl deserves more than this. Alright. Number 3, I'm going to go with The Last Days of American Crime. Last Days of American Crime, which is on Netflix, starring Edgar Ramirez, Micah Pate. The story in this was just god-awful. It was completely boring. Poor Edgar Ramirez deserves much better. I mean, this thing definitely did not beat the cake at all. It's a really bland, boring snore-fest of a film. I mean, from director Oliver Magaton, so you know where you get with a film like this. And yeah, definitely a really shitfest. Number 2. Alright. Number 2, Artemis Fowl. Now, Artemis Fowl, which was of course directed by Kenneth Branagh, who I admire. I adore Kenneth Branagh. But anyway, Artemis Fowl was just... I thought Artemis Fowl was terrible. I mean, of course it was a film that was supposed to go to theaters, but gosh, it was actually the first film of the year to actually get dumped on Disney Plus. And I can see why. I mean, this type of movie that should go to Disney Plus. Not, Black Widow or anything. Something bad like this is meant for Disney Plus. I mean, to be honest, if we were living in a world without COVID-19 and whatnot, and this movie was to have got released in theaters regular, it would flop. I mean, this movie will flop harder than John Carter, you know? It's definitely not that good of a film. You had, horrible acting. You had the likes of Judi Dench and Josh Gad, who I both admire, but this movie just blew. And yeah, Artemis Fowl is techno foul for you, 8 Crazy Nights friends. Artemis Fowl is techno foul. That's the tag, should be the tagline. Alright, my number 1 worst movie of the year was one of the films I was able to watch in theaters in January, and that is Dolittle. Dolittle, this of course ended up becoming Robert Downey Jr.'s first non-MCU movie since 2014's The Judge. I mean, you got a great voice cast here who I admire. You got Tom Holland, John Cena, Octavia Spencer. You've got Emma Thompson, Kumail Nanjiani. Great voice cast. But this movie just blew. It was a horrendous mess of a movie. It's pretty bad. Robert Downey Jr., one of the worst performances he's ever given. What the heck was up with that accent? You know, I mean, Dolittle is just... I quoted Dolittle. That's how bad it was. And yeah, definitely... It's on HBO Max. You don't need to watch it. It's on HBO. It's on HBO Max. Yeah, don't even bother. It's one. I did my review for it early this year, and it's one of the worst, horrendous piece of crap I have ever sat through. I mean, holy cow. It was bad. And I really quite like the Eddie Murphy Dr. Dolittle movies. I actually had to watch the Eddie Murphy one to watch the bad taste out of my mouth of this one, so yeah. Alright. That is. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me do the quick rundown. 10, 365 Days, 9, Corona Zombies, 8, New Mutants, 7, The Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson, 6, Bloodshot, 5, Grudge, 4, Antebellum, 3, The Last Days of American Crime, 2, Artemis Fowl, and number 1, Doolittle. Now there's other ones I probably could have added. Let me pull up some other lists. I actually just saw Tenet. It's not really, one of the worst films I saw this year. Maybe one of the most disappointing movies I saw. Let's see. Underwater, Greta Hansa, Realm Section, Fantasy Island, Horse Girl, Brahms the Boy 2, The Last Thing He Wanted, Beneath Us, Dangerous Lies, Faye Fair. I probably could have added that in my list. Books of Blood, After We Collided, which was bad, but not as bad as the first film, so I'm going to give it that. Super Intelligence, some Jiu-Jitsu, some pretty blatantly bad films of the year. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me leave you guys. What are some of your worst movies of the year? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here, C Movies, and signing off.